Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day. Sometimes life does not give you what you want, not because you do not deserve it, but because you deserve more. Today, I'll be presenting a topic of minerals, calcium, potassium, phosphorus, and sodium, under the kind supervision of my most respectable Dr. Saira Afzal. I am Dr. Amna Khan. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. The learning outlines introduction of macro minerals, including calcium, potassium, phosphorus, and sodium, their sources and related functions. The learning outcomes for today are at the end of my presentation, my colleagues would be able to describe the macro minerals like calcium, potassium, phosphorus, and sodium, their sources and important functions of the body. Let's start with the introduction. So, healthy sources of the 6 essential nutrients are the minerals, carbs, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, water, and the proteins. What are minerals? Inorganic elements essential to the nutrition of humans. Minerals are essential to body functions, plays several key roles in overall health and well-being, help chemical reactions take place in cells, help muscles contract, keep the heart beating. The two groups are the major minerals and the trace minerals. Major minerals need to consume more than 100 milligrams per day, at least 5 grams of the minerals in the body: calcium, sodium, potassium, chloride, phosphorus, magnesium, and sulfur. The macro minerals are the calcium, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, sulfur, chloride, and the sodium. And the micro minerals are the iron, boron, chromium, iodide, manganese, molybdenum, selenium, and so on. Trace minerals need to consume more than 20 milligrams per day. The body contains less than 5 grams total: iron, zinc, copper, selenium, chromium, iodide, magnesium, molybdenum, and fluoride. Mineral balance. Body maintains tight control over mineral balance. The GI tract regulates absorption from food based on the body needs. Minerals in the gastric juices and the slough of intestinal cells are either excreted in the feces or reabsorbed through the large intestine. The kidneys excrete excess and reabsorbs the minerals when the body needs them. Mineral functions. Mineral works together to perform important functions in the body: fluid and electrolyte balance, blood formation, the building of the health bones and healthy bones, maintaining a healthy immune system. Minerals help maintain fluid balance. Minerals play a key role in fluid balance in the cells. Extracellular minerals are the sodium and chloride. Intracellular minerals are potassium with the help of calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. Minerals participate as cofactors. Cofactors, substances that help catalyze a reaction. Minerals serve as cofactors in antioxidant systems, energy production, muscle contraction, and nerve transmission. From where to get the minerals? So, if you talk about calcium, you can get it from cheese, milk, chloride from the salt, seaweeds, olives, chromium, beef, broccoli, cobalt from the beef and the liver, fish, copper from coca, grains, and shellfish, iodine from the dairy, eggs, and the grains, and the iron from dairy, eggs, and grains, magnesium from almonds, leafy greens, and manganese from the grains, nuts, molybdenum from the dairy, phosphorus from beef, potassium from meat, potatoes, selenium from the meat and potatoes, sodium from bread, cheese, chips, zinc from cheese, meat, milk, and so on. Good sources of minerals in the USDA MyPlate Food Guide: fruits 2 cups, vegetables 2.5 cups, dairy 3 cups, grains 6 oz, and protein foods 5.5 oz. Fruits 2 cups would contain potassium, magnesium, and iron, and the vegetables 2.5 cups would be having iron, magnesium, selenium, calcium. Dairy 3 cups would be having calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, zinc, potassium, iodine. Grain 6 oz would be giving us chromium, iron, zinc, magnesium, sodium, sulfur, chloride, iodine, copper. And protein foods 5.5 oz would be having chromium, iron, copper, sulfur, iodine, zinc, phosphorus. Minerals make up bones and teeth. Minerals make up the crystalline structure hydroxyapatite that gives strength to bones and teeth. Major minerals: calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. Trace minerals are the fluoride. Now we talk about calcium. Different forms of calcium. Most of the calcium in the body is stored in the bones as hydroxyapatite. Calcium in the plasma, 45% free ionized form. physiological active, 45% bound to proteins, predominantly albumin, 10% complexed with anions, for example, citrate, sulfate, and phosphate, typically made in the routine blood tests. The calcium food sources are milk, cheese, seafood. The functions of calcium now. First up is the calcification of bones and teeth. Second is blood clotting as activator of thrombokinase. Third, it is important for maintenance of the heartbeat. Fourth, regulate the transport of ions across cell membranes and it is particularly important in nerve transmission and muscle contraction. Fifth, it is cofactor for several enzymes. Abnormal level of calcium may be due to the disease of parathyroid, kidney, disturbed vitamin D level. Bone mass and age. Bone mass decreases with age, peaks around 30. Calcium recommendations. Calcium recommendations during adolescence are set high, 1300 milligram per day to ensure that the skeleton will be strong and dense. Between the ages of 19 to 50, the recommendations are lowered to 1000 milligram per day. Over 50, the recommendations are raised again to 1800 milligram per day to minimize bone loss. Rickets. It is a disorder caused by a lack of vitamin D, calcium, or phosphate. It leads to softening and weakening of the bones. There is low serum and urinary calcium and phosphorus level. Calcium and osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a silent thief. It leads to progressive loss of bone mass that occurs in the elderly of both sexes, but it is pronounced in the postmenopausal woman, mostly women 45 years or more. It is characterized by frequent bone fractures, which are the major disability among the elderly. Now the phosphorus. Different forms of phosphate. Most of the phosphate in the body is also stored in the bones as hydroxyapatite. Most of the remainder of the body's phosphate is intracellular as a component of phospholipids in cell membranes, DNA and RNA, ATP and ADP. The small fraction of the phosphate that is in the serum exists as circulating phospholipids and inorganic phosphate. Inorganic phosphate consists of phosphate and phosphite ions in a ratio at pH 7.40. Functions of phosphorus. Enters information in bones and teeth. Formation of high energy compounds as ATP. Enters in the structure of nucleotides and nucleic acids. Genetic material. It is in the carbohydrate metabolism as exhaust ester. It acts as a buffer to maintain the acid base balance of cellular fluid. Enter the formation of coenzymes as NADP. Food sources of phosphorus. The main food sources for the phosphorus are food containing protein, for example, egg, milk, meat, and soya. Major mediators of calcium and phosphate balance. The parathyroid hormone, it contains 84 amino acids produced by the parathyroid glands. Net effects are increase the serum calcium and decrease the serum phosphate. Calcitriol, active vitamin D from diet or a cholesterol-derived precursor with help from the UV light, requires enzymatic steps in the liver and kidney to become active. Net effect is increasing serum calcium and increasing the serum phosphate. The fibroblast growth factor 2,3 or FGF23 is a member of the fibroblast growth factor family, which is responsible for phosphate metabolism. The main function of FGF23 seems to be regulation of phosphate concentration in plasma. It is secreted by osteoblasts and osteoclasts in response to elevated calcitriol, decreases the reabsorption, increases the excretion of the phosphate. Synthesis and regulation of parathyroid hormone. PTH is synthesized and secreted by the chief cells of the parathyroid gland. PTH secretion is primarily regulated by serum calcium. Increased calcium decreases the PTH, and decreased calcium increases the PTH. In the normal physiological conditions, magnesium plays a parallel role to the calcium. However, with significant magnesium depletion, there is decreased parathyroid hormone secretion and parathyroid hormone resistance, leading to hypocalcemia. Calcitriol increases blood calcium levels by promoting absorption of dietary calcium from the GI tract and increasing the renal tubular reabsorption of calcium, thus reducing the loss of calcium in the urine. Calcitriol also stimulates the release of calcium from bones. Calcitriol acts in concert with parathyroid hormone in all three of the roles. For instance, PTH also indirectly stimulates osteoclasts. However, the main effect of the parathyroid hormone is to increase the rate at which the kidney excrete inorganic phosphate, the contrain of the calcium. The resulting decrease in serum phosphate thus increases the serum calcium. Now let's talk about potassium. The food sources of the potassium are the fruits and the vegetables. Potassium is like sodium chloride and bicarbonate ions. It plays a very important role in the osmotic regulation of body fluids. Sodium mainly found in the extracellular tissues, whereas potassium principally present in the cell. Intracellularly, it plays a very important role in nerve and muscle excitability. It plays a role in the carbohydrate metabolism as a cofactor, energy metabolism, catalyst, ATP production, critical to the heart function. Sodium. Most of the sodium of the human body is present in the soft tissues and body fluids like potassium. It is concerned with the acid-base balance and osmotic regulation. It is a chief cation of the blood plasma and other extracellular fluids of the body. Much of it is ingested as common salt and excreted in the urine. The food sources are salt, seafood. Health benefits of sodium are it regulates fluid, prevents loss of water, removes excess carbon dioxide, CO2, the sufficient sodium, improves the skin, balances ions, prevents cramps, develops the brain, improves teeth, and prevents the dryness. How too much sodium affects your health? 9 out of 10 Americans consume too much sodium. Where does sodium come from? It comes from processed and restaurant foods. 70%, more than 70% of it. 10% while cooking or eating, and 15% occurs naturally. 34%, 3,400 milligram amount of sodium an American consumes on average in a day. Shake out salt. Keep your sodium intake in check as part of an overall heart healthy eating pattern that emphasizes variety of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, low fat dairy products, skinless poultry and fish, nuts and legumes, and non-tropical vegetables and oils. Limiting saturated fats, trans fats, sodium, red meats, sweets, and the drinks, the sugary drinks. Excess level of sodium may put you at risk of enlarged heart muscle, heart failure, headaches, high blood pressure, kidney disease, kidney stones, osteoporosis, stroke, stomach cancer. Your excess level of sodium salt may cause increased water retention that leads to puffiness, bloating, weight gain. Sodium functions. Transmission and conduction of nerve impulses responsible for osmolality of vascular fluids, regulation of body fluids, assist with regulation of acid-base balance by combining with the chloride or the bicarbonate to regulate the balance. The sodium shifts into the cells and potassium shifts out of the cells sodium pump. Sodium potassium potassium ATPase pump is basically the sodium potassium pump, which was discovered in the 1950 by a Danish scientist, Jens Christian, who was awarded a Nobel Prize in 1997. Failure of the sodium potassium pump can result in swelling of the cell. A cell's osmolality in the sum is the sum of the concentration of the various ion species and many proteins and other organic compounds inside the cell. When this is higher than the osmolarity outside of the cell, water flows into the cell through osmosis. This can cause the cell into the this can cause the cell to swell up and lyse. The sodium potassium pump helps to maintain the right concentration of ions. Furthermore, when the cell begins to swell, this automatically activates the sodium potassium pump. Sodium potassium water homeostasis. Control of sodium, potassium, and water hemostasis is a highly complicated process involving numerous interconnected physiological pathways, dozens of enzymes, and over a dozen hormones. The major hormones involved are angiotensin 2, aldosterone, and ADH, and minor hormones are the cortisol, ANP, BNP, insulin, and so on. The critical enzymes are the renin and the angiotensin converting enzyme. Now, let's talk about the global updates. Renal diet basics. Eating correctly is important for kidney health. People with kidney disease need to monitor intake of sodium, potassium, and phosphorus especially. People with kidney disease may need to control several important nutrients. The following information will help you adjust your diet. So, sodium. Reducing salt or sodium is an important tool in controlling your kidney disease. Do not use salt when cooking food. Do not put salt on food when you eat. Learn to read food labels. Avoid foods that have more than 300 mg sodium per serving. Avoid foods that have salt in the first 4 or 5 items of in the ingredient list. Do not eat ham, bacon, sausages, hot dogs, lunch meats, chicken, tenders or nuggets, or regular canned soup. Only eat soup that have labels saying the sodium level is reduced, and only eat 1 cup, not the whole can. Canned vegetables should say no salt added. Do not use flavored salt such as garlic salt, onion salt, or seasoned salt. Also avoid the sea salt. Be sure to look for lower salt or no salt added options for your favorite foods such as peanut butter or box mixes. Do not purchase refrigerated or frozen meats that are packaged in a solution or pre-seasoned flavored. These items are usually chicken breasts, pork chops, steaks, or burgers. Potassium. It is a mineral involved in how muscles work. When kidneys do not function properly, potassium builds up in the blood. This can cause changes in how the heart beats, possibly even leading to the heart attack. Potassium is found mainly in the fruits and vegetables plus milk and meats. You will need to avoid certain ones and limit the amount of the others. Potassium rich foods to avoid are melons. Watermelon is okay, bananas, oranges, grapefruit, the tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato juice, pumpkin, winter squash, and so on. Cooked greens, spinach. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is another mineral that can build up in your blood when your kidney doesn't work properly. When this happens, calcium can be pulled from your bones and can collect in your skin or blood vessels. Bone diseases can then become a problem, making you more likely to have a bone break. Dairy foods are the major source of phosphorus in the diet, so limit milk to 1 cup per day. If you use yogurt or cheese instead of liquid milk, only one container or 1 ounce per day. Some vegetables also contain phosphorus. Limit these to 1 cup per week. Dried greens, broccoli, the mushrooms, and the Brussels sprouts. Certain cereals need to be limited to one serving a week, like brown wheat cereals or oatmeals. White bread is better than whole grain breads or crackers. Soft drinks contain phosphorus, so only drink clear ones. Do not drink Mountain Dew, the root beers. Also avoid the fruit walks, the iced tea, and the aquafina, and the tangerine pineapple. The role of potassium and sodium in your diet. Potassium, sodium, and high blood pressure. Increasing your potassium intake can decrease your BP if you have high BP. Consuming too much sodium can raise your BP. This means that on average, the more sodium you consume, the higher your blood pressure will be. Especially if you already have high blood pressure, also known as hypertension. Consuming too much potassium in your diet and too much sodium can raise your blood pressure. Potassium, sodium, and the risk of heart disease and stroke. Increasing potassium intake can reduce your risk of heart disease and stroke by lowering blood pressure. Consuming too little potassium and too much sodium can also increase your risk of heart disease and stroke. Lowering blood pressure reduces your risk of heart disease and stroke. The vitamin and mineral nutrition for healthy growth and development. The problem: 1 in 6 US women is iron deficient during pregnancy. Deficiency is higher among non-Hispanic Blacks and Hispanics. Fewer than 1 in 5 US women take a prenatal vitamin containing iodine during pregnancy. Globally, more than half of the children younger than 5 years older suffer from vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Vitamin and mineral deficiencies can be devastating. So, vitamin and minerals are critical for several important body functions, often referred to as micronutrients. Vitamins and minerals are not produced in the body, with the exception of vitamin D. Instead, they are consumed through foods or supplements. Micronutrient deficiencies can have devastating consequences, even for unborn child. Here are the references. Now let's talk about the multiple choice questions. First one: a hypertensive patient presented to OPD. Which of the following helps in the regulation of blood volume and the blood pressure? A, sodium; B, iodine; C, sodium; A, iron; B, sodium; B, iodine; C, sodium; D, phosphorus; or E, calcium. Anyone? The answer is C, sodium. Number 2, a diabetic patient presented to a nutritionist with history of hypertension for diet chart. Excessive intake of calcium in our diet results in A, stroke; B, diarrhea; C, constipation; D, kidney stones; E, gallbladder stones. Anyone?
D.
Yes, it is D. Number 3, a primary gravida patient presented to gynae ward, pregnancy and lactation is known to A. Decrease calcium requirements, B. Results in bone mineral loss from the skeleton, C. Decrease the rate of dietary calcium absorption, D. Affect bone mineral content later in life, or E. Decrease potassium requirements. Anyone? The answer is B. Result
B.
loss. Yes, it is B. Number 4, a 50-year-old female went to nutritionist. What is the average daily recommended amount of calcium for an adult woman 51 and older? A. 1000, B. 1200 milligram, C. 800, D. Unlimited, E. 120.
E.
No, the answer is B. 1200. Fifth, a postgraduate resident is doing a research about minerals and vitamins and their sources. The best source of phosphorus is A. Dairy products, meat, fish, B. Fruits, C. Beans and peas, D. Nuts, E. Vegetables. Anyone?
Yes.
Yes, it is A. Number 6, a dietitian is researching about the dietary minerals. What two essential dietary minerals are mainly responsible for maintaining cell membranes potentials that is critical for nerve impulse transmission, muscle contraction, heart function? A. Sodium and chloride, B. Calcium and phosphorus, C. Potassium and sodium, D. Phosphorus and iron, E. Iron and sodium. The answer is C. Potassium and sodium. Number 7, a patient presented with a history of diabetes and hypertension in diabetic center. The high dietary sodium salt intake is generally associated with A. Decreased calcium excretion in the urine, B. Increased risk of fracture, C. Decreased dietary calcium absorption, D. Negative calcium balance and bone mineral loss, E. Increased phosphorus absorption. Anyone? The answer is D. 8th, an MBBS student is studying about minerals and nutrients. Which of the following is true about dietary calcium? A. Typical calcium intake is in most adults is between 0.5 mg and 2.5 per day. B. Activated vitamin D decreases absorption of the dietary calcium. C. There is clear evidence that people who consume more than the average amount of calcium have a lower risk of bone fractures. D. Absorption of efficiency is inversely related to the calcium intake, so that a higher proportion is absorbed and calcium is low. E. Not good for bones. The answer is D. 9th, a patient presented with a history of fracture to an orthopedic. These factors increase the risk of osteoporotic fracture. A. High bone mineral density, B. High body weight, C. High lean mass, D. Poor muscle strength, E. Diabetes. Anyone? It's B. High body weight. 10th, an orthopedic resident is researching about bone minerals. Bone mineral accretion is is rapid in the first 10 weeks of fetal life. B is slow in infancy. C in childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood. Predicts a risk of fracture in old age. D is particularly high after the menopause in women, and E is slow in the old age. It's C. Here's the key of the MCQs and the references. Thank you so much, everyone. Here's the page. Kindly please like and subscribe the page. All the videos are available here. Thank you so much for your time.